Good afternoon. So I'm going to pick up the baton from Bob and say that once we get kids to read, our next big challenge is getting them to graduate from high school. And I'm going to talk today a little, just briefly, about using evidence to help us enable all students to graduate from high school, prepare for college and career. And the reason this is important is there's really no work in the 21st century for high school dropouts anymore, right? There is no path to prosperity if you don't have a high school diploma, and there's no way to support a family on the job that you can have. So it's bad for them and it's bad for us, right? But to say that everyone is going to graduate high school prepared for college and career is really a new challenge for the educational system. When this building was built, schools weren't designed to ensure that every student would graduate high school prepared for college and career. They were designed to say some go to college, some go to the trades, some go to what was then called commercial, become a bookkeeper, and some, go out and just, take factory jobs. So we have to design our schools differently when we have a new outcome we face. But to do that, we have to, in a smart way, we argue here at the School of Education, you have to use evidence, right? Not just our intuitions, not just our thoughts on what might be a good way, but where does the evidence lead us? And so to do that, we have to stay with these questions for a long time, right? You're not going to get an answer in a week or a year on how to do that. You need sustained programmatic research that builds on itself. And I just want to give you a little case example of how we've done that in the group I work with at the Center for the Social Organization of Schools, and really how we've done this over the past 15 years to get where we are now, to think we have a better idea on how to do this. So what we try to do fundamentally is really connect first, figuring out what the challenge is. What is it going to take to get all our kids to graduate from college and career? Then test those ideas out in schools and develop models and tools that work, refine them, improve them, evaluate them, throw out the ones that don't work, keep the ones that do, and almost like software, keep building a new generation of the model every few years as we learn more. And then also try to influence policy to create the conditions to help scale those tools and ideas, right? So it's really integrating research to practice to policy is one of the unique things we do here at the School of Education. So how are we going to figure out to get all these kids to graduate college and career? Well, when I started working with our team and our colleagues, they had spent about the prior 5 years sort of looking at the knowledge base, figuring out what would be the components of whole school reform for high poverty high schools. And they had built a pilot school here in Baltimore at Patterson High School, and it had some good initial success, and people wanted to learn about it. So that's about when I joined the team. So I was going out and I was visiting schools in Philadelphia and Detroit and Cleveland, and what struck me is that inside they all look the same, right? In crazy ways. That they would have as many kids in the hallways as in the classrooms. They would have 300, 400, 500 kids in the 9th grade, and then a wild celebration when 150 kids would graduate. And we asked ourselves, okay, did we just stumble on bad wine, like a few really troubled schools, or is this a big problem? So we asked ourselves, how big is this problem? Because in order to solve it at a national level, we have to first understand its scale. And we looked, and we found is that we couldn't use graduation rates, because at that point, everybody measured them their own way. Basically, any state could figure out any measure of graduation rates and it was okay. And there wasn't a lot of accountability for improving graduation rates. So we had this intuition, though, that we knew that we saw these huge 9th grade classes and these very small 12th grade classes. And we knew that we could actually get data on enrollments, because they have to report to the federal government how many kids are enrolled in each grade. So we knew that for all schools, we could actually see how many had many, many 9th graders and very, very few seniors. And when we ran those numbers, we found that, in fact, you could make the case that 10% of schools were producing half the dropouts, and really up to 75% of the minority dropouts. And this became very influential at a policy level, because it told folks that a targeted effort could make a difference.